Analysts foresee that 2024 could see the end of global shipping recession as freight rates are soaring amid Red Sea troubles. Vessels transiting the Red Sea have faced attacks over the past several weeks from Iran-backed Houthi group, prompting shipping companies to change routes, leading to a spike in freight rates. Ocean freight rates have risen to $10,000 per 40-foot container. They stood at around $2,000 per 40-foot container. That's 4 times more in around 1 month only. Last year, the global shipping industry suffered a downturn, dragged down by high inventories and consumer spending pullback. That's a stark reversal from the boom following the pandemic. Mike Ingram is senior market strategist at Active Trades. He has more on how this could affect the shipping industry further down the line. Take a listen.
It certainly has potential to get worse before it gets better, at least as far as the conflict is concerned. I mean, you have about 90% of Red Sea transiting traffic shut down at the moment, so there is that other 10% which might also be shut down. But in terms of what the market's already discounting, well, they're not discounting, I think, a wider regional conflict, because if you were, then you'd see the oil price up a lot higher than it is at the moment. When you talked about the sort of boom times, if you like, for global freight in 2022, oil prices are about $40 a barrel higher than they are right now. And that's really a function of the fact that the market just doesn't think that this conflict is going to broaden out regionally, which I think is probably a little bit complacent after all these missile strikes that we saw recently were ballistic missile attacks, and these have a range of something like 2,000 kilometers.
Right, and Mike, we did say that the price for a 40-foot container went up from $2,000, right, to $10,000. That's 4 times more. Do you think in a convoluted way this could potentially be somewhat positive for the shipping industry? And what's the outlook for the industry this year?
Well, it's certainly going to be more positive for shipping companies than it was last year, because they're coming from a point of recession. As you say, higher freight rates equals higher revenues for these shipping companies. And together with actually relatively low fuel prices, which I mentioned earlier, I mean, crude prices haven't really moved very much. That's a reasonably good combination, at least for shipping companies. I think the one thing which is really holding them back from really having a vintage year like they did in 2022 is global demand is actually still pretty soft. We're due for another global economic slowdown somewhat this year. So that's the missing part of the puzzle at the moment. But certainly shipping companies, 2024, a better year than the last year, probably not as good as 2022.
And now let's go to the top stories from around the world. Wage growth in the UK continued to slow to 6.6% in the 3 months to November, while the unemployment rate remained unchanged at 4.2%. Concerns at the Bank of England persist as the rate remains high, impacting inflation targets. Despite economic challenges, wage pressures may be easing, and the labour market retains inflationary heat, with employers raising pay to attract and retain staff amid ongoing economic uncertainties. Japan's wholesale inflation has slowed in December, the latest sign of easing price pressures in the world's 3rd largest economy. The Corporate Goods Price Index, which measures the prices companies charge each other for their goods and services, was flat last month, compared with a 0.3% increase in November. The data eases pressure on the Bank of Japan to phase out its massive monetary stimulus soon. And Tesla CEO Elon Musk has said that he wants about 25% of voting control over his electric vehicle company. Musk currently owns 13% of Tesla after selling tens of billions of dollars worth of his shares in 2022. Musk says he feels uncomfortable expanding Tesla to be a leader in AI and robotics without having at least 25% voting control.